So first of all, I want to thank you all for joining this webinar today. My name is Billy D, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through a bit of a presentation about our system and how it came to fruition and just a few details about it. And then I'm going to dive right into the webinar itself, a live demo of the system. At any point, if you have any questions, please use the GoToMeeting interface and just ask, and I will stop and answer any questions you have. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started. So on the screen right here, you see two logos for two different companies. You see Pharmaca Consulting and Intrinsic Clinical Systems, and you see Eric Lake and Matt Kiernan. And so I'll give you a little background here. Eric and Matt worked at a company called Barnett Consulting. They were implementing CTMS solutions back in the 90s when Impact was the only game in town. They really enjoyed the work they were doing, the atmosphere, the clients, things like that. And at one point, the company was purchased, and everything sort of went in the direction of the new parent company. And Matt and Eric really wanted to create that same sort of atmosphere that they experienced prior to that. So they went ahead and started Pharmaca Consulting, which is a life sciences consulting company. And as we are a life sciences company, we have been continue to implement those CTMS solutions. And really, when we're in meetings with the clients, who are searching for a CTMS, we would, we would view demos and have meetings with vendors and things like that. And once those vendors left the room, we'd really hear the feedback that everyone thought from the presentation they just saw, as well as, people would start comparing the demo they just experienced to the CTMS they were currently using or have used at their company they were at previously or the company they were at 2 companies ago. And we would hear a lot of the feedback that they had about these systems and the good and the bad. And what we started noticing after regrouping and going to more and more of these meetings is that the feedback, the negative feedback was really similar. There were a lot of the same pain points that people were articulating over and over again. And so we sat back and thought, we're hearing these same things over and over again. What can we do to change and help our clients, get over these? How can we better serve them to reduce these pain points? And so to discuss those, we just want to say, here are a couple of the pain points that we experienced over and over again. The first was that these systems were very, very large and very expensive. They had been around for years, and they had all sorts of modules that most of our clients really didn't need. They were packed with all these different modules, like the grants module or the drug supply module, when really people only needed a few of these modules to accurately manage their clinical trials. Another complaint we would hear was there was a fragmented user experience. The integration was difficult, and once you actually got into the system, there was multiple ways to navigate to the same endpoint, and it really made everyone's experience with the system different and confusing. The third is, there was antiquated technology. The big machine seems to be operating under the adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've been around forever. They have tons of clients. People know it, and people are going to buy it. So why are they going to spend the money to really get down and upgrade it and fix it? And finally, we see, a heavy IT footprint, right? The system architecture still required a heavy IT influence, as the platforms that they were all built on varied widely. So let's take a step back, and I want you all to think about CTMS, not just CTMS solutions or different interface. I want you to think about different interfaces you've worked with, from your email to Word to Excel. Even think about things you don't use, like Google Maps or your iTunes or your digital cable, and think about how those interfaces have evolved over the past 5 to 7 years. We all love systems that are becoming easier to use, more configurable, and we don't see CTMS solutions following suit. When we look at an interface like the ones that are on the screen, we see navigation that seems to go on forever. You see these tabs that go on. So anytime you open something, a new tab stays open on your screen, and you're not really sure what part of the system you're editing. They have menu bars that seem endless, and you're not really sure where you are or what you're at, and there's just so much on the screen. So after hearing these same pain points from clients and seeing the lack of innovation in existing CTMS solutions, we started wondering, why are we trying to help people with these pain points when in actuality, what's the holdup? Why aren't they evolving? Why are people still working like this? And that brings us to Intrinsic Clinical Systems. We built the system to be light, modern, and easy to navigate it. We built it so someone who knows about clinical trials really wouldn't need any training. It's built on the Microsoft Dynamics operational platform. So it's Microsoft. We built a wrapper around a platform that people are familiar with. People know how to use these products. So CTMS built in Microsoft isn't going to feel like a total new system. It's not going to feel completely foreign to people. So we fall somewhere between the big expensive machines that have been around since the 90s and the smaller startups that are all cloud-based. Building on the Microsoft Dynamics platforms means we're the only CTMS on the market with native Microsoft Office Suite integration, and that means we're able to leverage SharePoint for the storage of your eTMF documents, which is another plus being built on Microsoft. What else does being built on the Microsoft stack give us? It means users can do quick and easy uploads of data from Excel directly into the system, eliminating the need for posting the files to other areas, applications, or network drivers. You can view your system reports directly in Outlook in real time. It's a simple plugin that you can download, and 3 minutes later you're pulling in all the CTMS visualizations directly into your Outlook, and people really like that they can see that information in real time as soon as they sign in the morning, and they don't have to go into the system, and they're basically setting up their day, looking at their meetings, sipping their coffee, and at the same time managing their clinical trials, and people really enjoy that. Finally, being built, we have this Microsoft integration, and we have simplified integration with other clinical management and study support systems, so we're able to bring in information from your CROs, your INTs, anything like that you want pulled into the system, represented in the system, as well as in any visualizations that we have. We're able to easily do that for you as well. Talked about the we can also not only can we download, we can upload that information from Excel as well. So because we have that native Microsoft integration, we're able to upload any information from Excel templates that you can download from the system. You're able to export that, take your time, save it, edit it, and a few days later, once you have all your information, easily update that into the system. So if you had some information that you were kind of getting piecemeal from your CRO or from other people in your company over a 2 to 3 day period, and you didn't want to be coming in and out of the system constantly and just doing a little piece of information here and there, what you could actually do is just download an Excel template for anything you wanted to put into the system, and then you would go ahead and put it right back into the system after you take a couple days, get that information, save it, and upload it back into the system. Here is that modern interface that we were talking about. You can see, like I said, we built it to be easy to navigate, clean, a lot of white, modern on the screen, and the one piece of feedback we get when we're showing our system is that people really like this non-traditional setup that we have here. So I'd like to do a quick recap. The system has native integration with Outlook, SharePoint, and Excel. It's built on a mature platform, so we're really leveraging Microsoft's world-class infrastructure. It has affinity backup across the globe, so downtime is not going to be an issue. The platform is HIPAA compliant, so we're able to save any eTMF documents using SharePoint. And what we've really done is take a clinical trial information and put it on a mature and proven platform that people are already familiar with. Like I said, it's Microsoft, so people are familiar with Microsoft products. CTMS built in Microsoft is not going to feel completely foreign to your users. So now that we've gotten through this, I'd like to take some time and walk you through the system itself. Any questions before I move on? Like I said, please feel free to use the GoToMeeting interface to ask any questions. I'm not seeing anything pop up, so I'm going to dive right over to the system and get started. The first thing I want to say about the system is that it is not a user-based system like SharePoint. It's a role-based system. A lot of times when I'm giving these demos, I'm walking the potential users through the system and explaining what people can and can't do, and I'll say, a person will be able to add this information and and 9 times out of 10 I'll get somebody say, well, hang on, I don't want my study managers being able to do that, or I don't want my executives who are just coming in to be able to view things, being able to add information, you know. So like I said, it's not a user-based system where you go in, you add a person, and then you go down to every single, you know, task in the system or location and say what people are able to do, read, write, access, things like that. The system is a role-based system, so we have 5 predefined roles in the system: global admin, super user, study manager, read-only, executive, things like that. And what you would do is you would go ahead and review those roles, and then you would look at your users and assign each user a role based on the access level that you want them to have. So like I said, a lot of people panic when I'm demonstrating what users can do, and I just wanted to say, you know, don't worry about that. People, you know, you'll be able to customize exactly where you want each person to be based on the hierarchy and the roles that we have defined in the system. So that's one thing I'd like to get out of the way right away, like I said. Second of all, the next thing I want to say is I want to go over the general and specific entities. We talked about that easy navigation that I showed you, you know, sort of in that image in the slide. And now I wanted to walk you through the navigation of the system and how it all works and comes together. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is general entities and specific entities. And general entities are located in this drop down right next to the CTMS button right here. You'll see we currently have 2 buttons in the top. A third button will populate here once we get a little further into the system, but keep your eye on this ribbon as we go through the system and you'll be able to see how it all works. So right now, if I click on this drop down next to the CTMS, these are all the general entities in the system. This contains all system-wide information. And general entities really have 3 functions. As I'm in the project's general entities right now, we'll start there. The first function of a general entity is you get to see at a high level what's going on in the system, right? So here we are at the project level. You see things like project name, some milestones with the planned and actuals, therapeutic area, compound indication, planned sites, actual sites, some enrollment, status information, things like that. So the first function of general entities is at a high level, you see what's going on in the system. The second function of general entities, if I go up here and click on the general entity drop down here, and now I'm going to click on the studies general entities, is they can be used as a navigation tool. So now that I've switched from the project to the study general entities, you see this same tabular view, the high-level overview of the list of the studies in the system. But if I want to access this brain cancer study right here, I just click on it, and I'm taken directly to that study. So that's how you use general entities as a navigation tool. The third function of general entities is they're used as repositories of information. So if I click on the general entity tab up here again, and now I go ahead and click on the investigators general entity, you'll see that same tabular view with all the active investigators in the system. And really what this is you know, this is where everyone, a study manager who's setting up their clinical trials, this is where they're going to pull on all this information. So let's say that the study manager has created a project, a study country, and is now wanting to add a site to their particular study. They'll go ahead and they'll select any one of these active investigators, and it will pull in the institute associated with them and any location information. And once you pull in an investigator for a particular study country, that's how you create that site. It's really a concatenation of all those things from the project level to the study country, all the way down to the site that creates the site. So all the users in the system are going to be pulling on the information at the investigator and institute level. They're all going to be seeing the same information. And what we have here is one concern when creating the system was we really wanted to make sure that we kept the data standards high. And the way we did that is Microsoft's CRM has duplicate detection settings. And what we've gone ahead and done is created a business process rules around things like email address, phone number, a certain number of characters in the first name and last name. And anytime you were to go ahead and add 2 people that were very similar, the system is going to flag it for you. One complaint we heard when demoing systems to other, or being in those meetings where we were being demoed different CTMSs. That's that sometimes study managers would go in and enter different studies, different investigators with a slightly different first name, or they thought they were at this institute when they were at another institute. So what we did was we built those process rules to flag any similar entries, group email addresses, like I said, phone numbers, institute, certain number of characters in the first name. And anytime you were to try and add an additional person that is similar to one already in the system, you're going to get a duplicate detection alert. And it's great. The great thing about it is it doesn't restrict you from adding, because what you could say is, no, this person just has a very similar name or a very similar phone number. I do want to add them in the system. Or you could go ahead and say, oh, wow, I've entered this information incorrect. It looks like, Billy D's already in the system. I don't need to add him again. And you can click cancel. So in the event that it's just a very similar entry, you can proceed. In the event that the system is actually flagging you that you may be entering a duplication, you can cancel it. So those duplicate detection settings really help keep those, like I said, those high data standards in the system, so you don't have a lot of slightly misspelled institutes or investigators in the system that really should only be one entry. In actuality, they're two, and now they're straddling two different studies when it should be the same person. So those are the functions of general entities, just to review, because I know I threw a lot at you. You can view at a high level what's going on. You can navigate, and there are those repositories of information. Any questions on general entities? Nothing's come in, so I'm going to move on to specific entities. I told everybody to keep an eye on the ribbon at the top, so what I'm going to do now is go back to my studies general entity, and I'm going to click on my brain cancer study like I was in before. And now you can see that third button up here is populated in the ribbon, and now we have the specific study that we have navigated to, and we're seeing the form on the screen is now in the ribbon with its own drop-down. So once again, this is the general entity drop-down with all that system-wide information. And when I click on the drop-down for the particular study, now we see the specific entity information. And this is not system-wide information. This drop-down contains only things that pertain to this particular study. If I went back here and I clicked on that investigator like I was in before, and I navigated to a particular investigator, now that investigator name is going to pop up here in the ribbon with its own drop-down. And when I click on the drop-down right here, you're going to see things that are only associated with that particular investigator. So once again, general entity that has all the system-wide information here that you can see across the system. And then if I navigate back down here to the cancer study and it populates up here, now I'm seeing the specific entity information with this drop-down right here. I know you're all probably wondering, so I saved this button, the middle button, for last. Finally, this button is what I call the quick nav. So if I click on the drop-down next to the second button right here, here you're going to see all the studies that I've been in recently, everything that I've been working with. And if you're a study manager at a large company where there is, 100 studies and 1,000 institutes and 1,000 investigators and, a lot of information, study managers really only need to view the items that they're actively working on. So after you've used the system for a few days, everything that you've recently viewed is going to be right here. So when I click on this study's general entity to navigate here, I don't have to look through this whole table to navigate where I want to. I can easily just click on the quick nav and get to my particular study that I want to see that quickly. If I accidentally clicked on the wrong study, I can easily come back and just click on the actual one that I wanted to be in. So it's that easy to navigate around the system. I just trained you on it in about 3 to 4 minutes, and most people see that and they're able to get up and running right away. So we've talked about general entities, specific entities, and how to navigate around the system. Next, I'm going to walk everyone through how to enter a clinical trial from the project down to the site level. Before I move on, do we have any questions? I'm not seeing any hands up in the interface, and I'm not seeing anything come in, so I'm going to move on. So let's take a step back and go up to the project level. And what I'll do is I'll just click on the general entity button, head up to the project, and then I will go to the study, the brain cancer study right here. I'm sorry, project. I'm not going to waste time entering one. What I'm going to do is just show you an existing one and how it flows from top to bottom and how each section introduces you to the following section at the bottom. So here we have the top level of the system, the project level. Here is the information you can enter for this particular project. As you're going to notice that there's very few red asterisks in the system that pertain to mandatory fields or input boxes. We tried to make the system as easy as possible for people to get up and running, so that's why you see that. Really the only fields we made mandatory were the ones that we needed to map all this information together. So we made it as lean as possible. So if you had very little information, you could still get the placeholder information in the system as you were going through. So here you go. The system is, free. There's a lot of free text fields in it. As you can see, these top two are free text. When you get down to therapeutic, indication, compound, these are going to be lookups to those repositories of information in the system that you can pull on. You're going to see milestone information. In most cases, that's locked because it just pulls from any specific entity information. So here you see there's milestones at every level of the system. Here's an example of the project milestones. And once you entered the project milestone information on this table, it would be reflected here as display only. So it gives you an idea of what's going on. There's some budget information that's rolled up from study. You can see here it's locked and it indicates where it comes from. I just want to say, as we're going through this, if anyone's feeling overwhelmed by anything in the system, that we do have a very, excuse me, thought I was going to sneeze. Pardon me. We do have a very detailed instruction manual, a user guide that comes with the system, where there are screenshots of all of these forms with tables underneath them, explanations of where the information comes from, and how it ties into other areas in the system. So after you put in this project information right down here, you'll see there's related studies, and there's already some listed right here. If I were to go ahead and click this plus sign right here, this quick create overlay from the top comes down. And now you can see I can add any related study information. The project is locked because you're directly associating it with this project. And then you could enter any mandatory information, save it, and as soon as it was done saving, it would appear in this table right here. Now what I can do is navigate down to the second level of the system, which is the study level. So we've gone from project to study. And now we see some simple project information that's display only right here. All of these blue header sections are collapsible just by clicking on them. You can collapse the sections. Here's where you'd be able to enter any study information in the system that wasn't collected at the quick create level. Here there are things like study populations and subpopulations, which you can enter multiple for. Any additional study information, if it's managed by the CRO or the sponsor or any other contact name information. These are the milestones that pull in from the other levels, and any planned sites, actual sites, and enrollment information that rolls up from the site level. As you go from top to bottom, like I said, the system pushes you through to the next section. So here at the bottom of the study information, you'll see another section called Related Study Countries, which looks exactly like the related studies that we saw in the previous level. You'll see the quick create right here, and it pops down from the top of the screen, this overlay, where you enter the same type of form information, save it, and then it would appear right here in your table. And now you are at the study country level of the system. Some simple study information and project information is displayed at the top for you. Like I said previously, you can collapse those sections if you'd like to, or you can just scroll down. Now you could enter additional study information you didn't enter on the quick create level. And when you go from top to bottom, here you are with the next section with a quick create to add related site information. When you click this, the site quick create appears, and once you were to enter an investigator, like here, if I would select this, you'll see that the institute name and location, and if there was a site number associated with this investigator, would automatically populate right here, and you would save that, and then it would appear under the related sites. And this is the lowest section of the system, where you would enter any additional site information you wanted right here. And that's how you go from top to bottom in the system. Every specific entity, whether it's a project, a study country, or a site, has additional information you can enter here. If I go into the site milestones, you'll see this is where you can enter all your site milestone, planned, and actual information. It's displayed in a table that you are able to go ahead and enter and save. And that really is entering the information from the top level to the bottom level. Before I move on, do we have any questions? I'm not seeing anything come in, so now I'd like to talk about, the name of this presentation was Integration with the CRO, so I touched on it a little bit in my slideshow talking about the ways we can integrate with CROs, so let's talk about them now. The easiest and most really sophisticated and high-tech situation is really just building an API directly to the CRO to pull in any of the milestone or enrollment information. That'll be then populated right here and be reflected in the visualizations that we have. So that's the first way that you can go ahead and get that information from the CRO. That's the quickest and most sophisticated way. On all the milestones or essential document or regulatory information screen, you'll also see this export-import feature right here. When I get to the enrollment section, you'll see it exists there as well. So what I'm able to do is, as you can see, this table is editable. I can enter any of this milestone information. Once I click the export-import button, I get a new window tab opening up. And now this is all display only, and this is where you could go ahead and export any information that you wanted to send off to a CRO to populate for you. So what you could do is you could go ahead and click Export to Excel and export it as a static worksheet. And if you were to go ahead and do that, you'd get an export of all the milestones in the system that you could send off and have your CRO populate it. And once they send it back to you, you could go ahead and import that data directly from the Excel spreadsheet and put it in the system. So it's a more low-tech solution of how to get that information in the system. But a lot of people really enjoy the upload feature because not only does it allow you to sort of maybe send it off to someone for approval as well, you can get more eyes on it without going in the system before you upload it and save it. It also allows you to get everything all at once, so you're not going into the system and adding it piecemeal. So people like that feature as well. Any questions on how to get that information into the system? A third solution that we also have is that we could go ahead and post any one of those files to a SharePoint directory, and anytime a CRO went ahead and uploaded that file, if we gave the CRO access, they could go ahead and upload a new file to a SharePoint directory, and every night at midnight when we were sure people weren't in the system, we would have the system reach out to that file and pull in any new information. So those are the three ways we can integrate with other systems to get information into the system. Any questions there? Okay, great. As we are talking about importing and exporting in different views, I'd like to go back to the general entity, if I may, and just talk to you about the importing, exporting in a little bit more detail. A lot of our users really enjoy our import-export feature because it's like having an ad hoc reporting tool for them. Anything that's really important to them that's not featured in any of the out-of-the-box visualizations, people can generate for themselves. And so you're asking, how do people do that? So if I come back up here to the active projects view, what I can do here is I can click and create a personal view. And let's say I'm a study manager that really wants to see some budget level information that's not featured. As I move this down, you can see there's no sort of budget information. What I can do is just click on the edit columns. And anytime you do this, you can add columns to the view. And very easy, if I wanted to go ahead and do any sort of budget information into the system, I could go ahead and add these columns very easily. Hit OK, and now you could see they would show up at the end of this view right here. I would go ahead and if I really just I didn't want to see enrollment twice, I could go ahead and remove any sort of enrollment information. And it's really that easy to go ahead and create a new view. I've gone ahead and I've named it, or I've configured it. I can say budget view right here in the save box. And now I can exit out of here, and you'll see right here in the drop-down that in my views there's a budget view, and I can go in, and now any sort of budget information that I want reflected here is pulled in and shown at this level. You can create as many views, personal views, as you want, 5, 10, 20, 30, unlimited. You can create as many of those as you like. And you can also make them your default view. If every time I wanted to come in here and I wanted this budget view to be the one, I could click this pin right here, and this, as you can see, is pin this view as the default view for this particular list. Then I could come in and see that every time. So I originally started this conversation talking about importing and exporting. What you're also able to do, every screen has this export to Excel up here. I could go ahead export this as a static worksheet and send it off to anybody I wanted to show this budget information to. Or I could go ahead and save it as a dynamic worksheet to my desktop, and it would create a link to Excel. And anytime I opened this up or refreshed it while it was open, it would refresh all of the information that has been put in the system. If there's now, if this grew from 5 sites to 6 sites from the last time I opened the Excel, it would go. If this went from proposed to planning, anything that you change in the system, as long as you export it as a dynamic worksheet, you can go ahead and just save that to your desktop, open it up, and it'll be reflected. So people really like that they can go ahead and do that. They can look at things in the system that are important to them while in the system, but at the same time, they can export it, save it to their desktop, and open it up. So people really enjoy that sort of ad hoc reporting functionality that comes with the system. If I may go back to where I was before, if I go to this brain cancer study right here, you can also do this, like I said, with those milestones, that milestone information like I was showing you before. If I go down, from the project to the study country to the site level information, and you can do this at any level of the system, but I really feel that most of the time users are interested in the most important milestones that people are interested in seeing and populating are those site level milestones. So if I go down to the site level right here, and now you can see the site is reflected in the ribbon like I talked about before, and I click on these site milestones, you can go ahead and export any milestones in the system as well. So if I were to go ahead and do this, this table functions exactly like Excel. You can click on this filter tab right here, and I could filter by any sort of project. Maybe I want to see all projects. Maybe I'm just really interested in if I click on the drop down like the milestone name and filter by specific milestone, maybe I'm really just wanting to know how many sites have an activation date. And if I go ahead and click on that and filter, what I can do is now I'm looking at every site in the system and whether they have a planned or actual activation date. And I could go ahead and export this out of the system as a static worksheet and send it off to, somebody in a leadership position that was interested in seeing this. Or I could go ahead and just export it as a dynamic worksheet and open it up, and anytime I wanted to see if any of this information had been updated, I could do it that way. So there's a lot of really cool and interesting ways to get information out of the system that's customizable, that's linked to keep you up to date and just create sort of that custom experience with the system that you want to have. Do we have any questions there? Okay, great. So we've talked about the navigation. We've talked about how to input information in from the project level all the way down to the site level. We've talked about integration with CROs and how you're able to easily do that, as well as all of the functionality around importing and exporting. Next, I'd like to go ahead and show you our trip reports. So if I, I'm going to go back just because it's easier. I'm going to go back up to the study level, and I'm going to click right here on the specific entity dropdown for this particular study and go into the trip reports. And as you can see, there's no trip reports for this particular study, so I could add a new trip report to this study, and the overlay pops up, and this is where you'd be able to do this information. We are currently working on, this is a routine monitoring visit example right here. We're currently working on a site initiation visit, a site qualification, site initiation, close out, and the fourth one escapes me. So we will have 5 trip reports in the system. It has a lot of great functionality. Anytime you select an investigator, it go ahead and populates the name and city. Because I've been associating it with this particular study, all the sites that appeared under here, as you can see, there's only one. It's not going to reflect every site in the system. The features are cascading. And then you'd be able to enter any of the personnel information right here. And as you go down, we have a lot of other functionality where if you were to go ahead and enter yes to any of these questions, you'd get a comment box that then becomes mandatory. If you were to go ahead and no, you wouldn't see that. So you don't have to enter any sort of explanation for this answer. That's how all of everything works as you go from top to bottom. We also have a signature functionality down here. So as I'm logged in as the admin, who is this person, Nick, if I were to go ahead and click this, it would go ahead and populate my name as well as the date that I saved the trip report. And that once you do that, that would be locked and you would not be able to update that. So that's how our trip report's working. These trip reports are in the process of being Part 11 validated as well. So finally, I want to jump back to the main level and go to our visualizations. I know I don't want to save anything in the system right now. So we use Microsoft Power BI for our visualizations. If you're not familiar with Power BI, it was recently ranked by the Gartner company as one of the top 3 visualization tools, along with Spotfire and Tableau. So right here you'll see that the visualizations that we have in the system are contained right here in this drop-down. There's 10 out-of-the-box visualizations that come with the system. I really just like operating and working with them in Power BI, so I can click this button right here and open the visualizations in Power BI. And that overlay will go ahead. Oh, sorry, I'm having a bit of a connectivity issue today. We've been really fortunate because we've been on for about 40 minutes and we haven't seen it yet. But once again, I'm having some weather difficulties at my house today, and so we're just seeing a little bit of a delay with my service. So if I go up here and I click on, like I said, the Open in Power BI button, I get the reports opening directly in Power BI because I'm already signed in via the CTMS. I just click sign in and my credentials automatically come over. And here we have all of the visualizations that are in the system that I can walk you through. The visualizations they're going to be really, you're going to see 3 different types of visualizations. There's a straight table visualization that you'll see. There's graphs, and then there's a combination of graphs and visualizations. So I'll start at the top level of the system and go ahead and we'll see some portfolio-wide information. As we're moving on, I'm clicking on my interface over here. I don't see any questions come in. Does anyone have any questions? Nope, just want to double check. I apologize. I know you guys can't see my interface, but I open it up every now and then to check and make sure everybody's doing all right. So here we start at the top level of system, portfolio level information. This is where you see that this is separated by studies by therapeutic area, by project, by compound, and you get an idea of the breakdown of each one of these sections. Any visualizations in the report have this focus mode option right here where you click on it and you can get a better idea of what's going on. And then you just click here and go back to the report. Really everything for a project portfolio level, we don't really worry about filtering because it is portfolio level, so you're seeing things across the system. So this is one of those really graph-heavy visualizations. If I click on the portfolio summary, this is a table-heavy visualization. As you can see here, it breaks it down by compound, program, therapeutic area, indication, study, and then the details around those things. The next level of system, so we're going from portfolio, then we go to study. Here we have a study enrollment status report. We have the graph element at the top and the tabular portion right here. And here you can see that it has statistics like percent of countries active, percent of sites active, period, percent complete overall. And you can go ahead and pop out this filter right here. And you could filter by study in the system if you didn't want to see everything. If you wanted to go ahead and just print this out for a particular study, you could filter on that study and then show that, and then unclick and you go back to that system-wide information. So that's how you're able to filter there as well. Here's a study startup graph. This is building off of the actual milestones in the system. So you'll see right here, these are the milestones in the system, and anytime there's any actual information, it populates right here. And so you can see for any particular study, if the IP has an actual date, you see that it has the information right here. So it doesn't break it down, but it doesn't break it down by date. It really just shows you whether it's happened or not. And once again, you can filter by project or by study and get that information for any particular study that you wanted to. If I went up to the project level and just did it by brain cancer, then you'd see all the studies within that particular project. Next up, we have the enrollment graph. This is probably our most popular visualization. If I go ahead and really, you're going to filter by a particular study for this graph. When I go across the bottom here, you'll see that there's a very long timeline here. Now we can get into all the information in the system. And now we have things like original baseline, planned number of sites, screen patients, enrollment, things like that. And you can click on any of this information right here to kind of focus in. If you just wanted to see baselining information, or you just wanted to see sites, or you just wanted to see patient screening, you could go ahead and do that and focus in on all those particular modes. Next up, we have a site startup graph. This is similar to the study startup graph, pulling in those particular milestones that you want to see here and their actual dates. We also put it in a horizontal because sometimes people just want to see reflected a different way. Here we have the site enrollment status report. This is going to be more of a tabular report, so you can see the table build out under here with all the planned and active actual information. Here we have the enrollment by month. This is a duplicate. Here we have the enrollment by month table. So we've seen the enrollment by month graph report, and now we have a table. So you see things like activated sites, plan enrolled, baselining information, and it's reflected in a tabular form rather than seeing it in the graph. So those are the visualizations that we have in the system. Does anyone have any questions? I'm not seeing any come in through the system, so that was really what I wanted to walk everyone through today. Thank you all for joining us. If anyone has any follow-up or wants to see a demo with more information or see me expand on any of the information that you've seen here today with more members of your team, please reach out to me and I will be happy to set something up. This is, once again, my contact information, my email, my phone number. Reach out to me either way and let me know if you'd like to see any more of the system. So that's it. Thank you for joining and have a great rest of your day.